Hello and good morning, everyone. Welcome to What's Up Wednesday, Be the Hero, Tween and Teen Live Action Role-Playing or LARPing Games webinar. Today's webinar is co-sponsored by the Games and Gaming Roundtable of the American Library Association. My name is George Bergstrom, and I am the Southwest Regional Coordinator for the Indiana State Library's Professional Development Office. I will be the host and question moderator for today. Our presenter this morning is Brooke Windsor, Teen Services Librarian, Master of Instruction and Curriculum at the Stratford Public Library in Ontario, Canada. I'd like to start off the webinar with a few announcements. To register for other webinars or other trainings available from the Professional Development Office, please see the Indiana State Library's events calendar, which can be found on our website at www.in.gov/library. The session is 1 hour, so you will be getting 1 LEU for today. And if you are watching the archived recording of this webinar, the instructions on how to obtain your LEU are available in the video's description on YouTube. Or you can also find the instructions on the Indiana State Library's continuing education website under LEU policies. Without further ado, I will now turn the presentation over to Brooke.
Hey, hello, everybody. So just a quick aside, while I am currently living and working in Stratford, Ontario, I am from Tennessee. My accent will come out, so you're not questioning if you're hearing things. And funny enough, I do have a cousin who lives in French Lake, Indiana. So this is pretty cool being able to do this. I'm going to go ahead and get started. We have a lot to cover, and we do have several interactive bits. So please just use the chat for that. And we're gonna go. Yes, there's me. Hi, everybody. And again, let's just dive in. We've only got an hour and a lot to talk about. So what is LARPing? Traditional LARPing is probably what you've seen on TVs and shows and stuff like that. Like, Hawkeye on Disney Plus recently had, a bit with LARPers in it. This is fantasy based. It usually involves physical fighting using foam weapons that you design yourself. And most of the time there's an overarching challenge or goal to complete during each session, either the battle royale where you kill everyone else, or you have to find something on the far side of the field, stuff like that. Basically, what I've done is modified that LARPing framework to become its own library game template. So the theme can be anything you want. It does not have to be fantasy. In fact, I've never run a fantasy one of these. The fighting is replaced with flag tags. So, having those little strips of cloth around your waist, either with an actual flag tag belt or just put it in your pocket. And then there are obstacle mini challenges that culminate into an end goal. So almost like escape room-esque, you're completing small challenges throughout the way in order to get to the end. Okay, so I've got some videos. Oh no, I don't think I pressed the thing. There we go, share sound. Okay, so here are some tidbits from the teen game. Just a couple of challenges there. This is for one of our tween ones. The tween ones tend to draw in the parents, so be forewarned about that. This bit was actually filmed by one of the parents who was watching the game. Okay, so as you can see, lots of energy, lots of screaming. You will have a lot of screaming. It's totally fine and normal. There'll be a little bit of information about how to kind of work with that and we're talking high numbers. As long as you've got the theming right and the pitch right, when everything started to get back to normal this past fall, we actually were able to run a teen zombie night using this game framework in October. We had 30 teenagers in the library. Again, big stuff. So what's the reasoning? obviously your managers are going to go, what are you talking about? You're going to chase a bunch of tweens and teens around the library. It provides a really unique experience. There's nothing else in the community that provides a game like this. Again, it's completely made up. Nobody else is running anything like it. And that sort of unique experience really helps because, you know, libraries and communities that have bigger, you know, a bigger city where there's more to do, movies, extracurriculars, community centers, you're actually kind of competing for an audience there. And so this is something unique they can only get with you. It does allow for unplugging. Again, they are the star physically of their own, you know, real life video game. They're not sitting there, you know, just gaming in front of a TV, which parents really enjoy hearing about that. High energy, high excitement. Again, like you will get a cult following if you do it properly. I promise you, they will come every year to whatever games you do. And it really lets the tweens and the teens see the library as a special place for them because they get to do things they wouldn't ordinarily get to do, right? And then, of course, physical literacy. That's our new buzzword. So physical literacy is, of course, getting active, playing, you know, again, physical play. This is important for teenagers, just as important as it is for children. So you want to pick a theme. That is the foundation of this. Always start with the theme. I do that for pretty much every program, but especially these games. You want something popular. You want something that has a villain because the librarian will be the villain of the game, who's going to be, you know, trying to pull the little flag tag strips. So you do need something that has a villain naturally. And then something that you can bring up with unique challenges. So these are a couple of things that I've done before. Zombies, I do that every October. Dinosaurs, this one actually, this video is from one of our dinosaur bits. Yes, that's me in an inflatable T-Rex costume chasing them. Beware if you choose to do a dinosaur one in a T-Rex inflatable costume, you will get very, very hot. Those things are not meant for running in. Aliens, we did do aliens once, environmental disaster, and ghosts as well. All right, so theme time, everybody. Get your fingers ready above the keyboard into the chat. You've got 10 seconds to think of a new super awesome theme for one of these games. So think TV shows, movies, games, cultural phenomenons. Share in the chat when you think of one, and then we're gonna vote on the best new theme at the end of it. So 10 seconds, go. Oh, yes. So many good ones. All right. Werewolf Vampire, Fortnite, Stranger Things. I've been wanting to do a Stranger Things once for so long, and this was going to be the year. We will wait and see if the new season of Stranger Things are okay enough for us to do one of these. I want to do Stranger Things so bad. Spider-Man, Hunger Games, Witcher, Full Metal Alchemist. Yeah, so if you've got a lot of manga anime kids, Full Metal Alchemist definitely. Dune, Squid Game, that would be pretty interesting. Minecraft, Fast and Furious, Shadowhunters, Star Wars. I had somebody that was going to try to do a Mandalorian one, but again, then the world shut down. So that would be pretty awesome too. X-Men. All right, so out of those, which one do you think is going to be your favorite? So we're going to do another round in the chat. Say which one out of all of those ideas are your favorite. Go. Oh, yeah, we got Stranger Things vote. Oh, Stranger Things, yeah. Okay, so it looks like Stranger Things is going to be our winner with Squid Games as the runner-up, most definitely. And those are awesome. And those will be, both of those will be very, very good for teens. And of course, these are all great ideas. I mean, Minecraft, Marvel, X-Men, all of that. Whatever is popular in your community. Okay. So the meat of this game is actually based in the challenges. I like to do between 10 and 12 different challenges in number. Of course, this will rely on the difficulty of the challenges, how spread out your game area is going to be, the number of competitors, and all of that will come together to dictate how long the game takes. So, for example, this past October with our annual Teen Zombie Survival Night, we had 30 kids that were broken up into 6 teams, and there were 13 challenges, and it took us about 45-50 minutes for the first team to finish. And again, that's a solid game. Because that way they've got time to kind of really pick up how the game works. It gives them a big rush. And of course, it's worth their while to actually come out for something that's about that long. The challenges themselves need to link to the theme. Of course, survival fits with almost any theme. So we're talking, what is a safe source of water? Tie this specific knot. Oh gosh, any other survivals. Oh, is this plant safe to eat? Any sort of survival challenges like that will work with almost anything, because again, you're put in this situation where you're trying to survive, right? Of course, keep a couple of challenges in your back pocket if you repeat these games, because if you repeat these games, you will have repeat players. So you need to be able to change the challenges for your theme each time, especially again, if you are running a teen zombie night every October. You need to have different challenges so that your teens don't get bored doing the same thing over and over again. Now, don't be afraid to have completion challenges. What I mean by completion challenges are for the tweens, I usually give them one of the library iPads, one per team. And of course, the teens have their phones 99.9% of the time. They have to actually film or take a picture of one of their teammates completing a challenge. By that, I mean firing an arrow at a zombie target, or walking through a little obstacle course. That way they've confirmed they've completed the challenge, but there's no, direct thing at the end of it. But again, that still does work. All right, so here are some of the challenges that we've done. Again, tie several survival knots on a string, mix up the cure. So different colored water and pipettes. The colored water is, I usually label it something that is scientific. So I actually break down the molecular names, which the teachers really enjoy. Figure out a combination lock to get to the cure recipe. Again, standard escape room kind of thing. Make a pom-pom shooter. That one was insanely popular at the dinosaur game, because then they used the pom-pom shooter on me. So be aware of that if you have them make a weapon. Make a shield to hide you from the villain. I usually do this in almost any game because the shield can hide one person once they've made it. So it's kind of like a bonus. Once you get to a certain part of the game, you can make a little shield. It's just a piece of paper that you color to be camouflage, and then you can use it going forward. Crack open rocks to find dino DNA, finding antibiotics in a book safe. So I make a bunch of book safes, hide them on the shelves where the book should be, and actually tell them the location of where the book is on the shelf, and they have to actually go and find it. Open up the book. There's a little card that says antibiotics on it. Complete a zombie obstacle course. Here is the little rocks. So those are just treasure rocks. Those of you who do a lot of stuff on Pinterest, it's flour, old coffee grounds, and then you bake it on a very low temperature in the oven for a really long time, and it gets hard. And you can put almost anything in there. That particular example, there were little plastic dinosaurs in it. And again, this is one of the completion challenges that I mentioned. So the kids themselves are filming their teammate going through the zombie obstacle course. So each of those chairs has a zombie on it. Oh yeah. To actually get through that. Now, those of you who work with teens and tweens know that when you have a team of usually more than 3, there tends to be one person who does everything and the others who are just tagging along. That's not fun. So to counteract that, I usually create job titles and associated challenges. What I mean by that is at the beginning of the game, everybody gets a job title. They have little, hanging name tags with the title on it. It is related to the theme. And then there are specific challenges that only that person can do. So, for example, the infectious disease specialist is the only person who can mix the cure. Their survivalist is the only person who can make a tent out of the tarp and the pieces of wood. The dinosaur expert identifies dinosaur tracks. Again, things that link these jobs to specific challenges, and that way you're spreading it out through the team. All right, this is the breakdown. I am a pen and a pencil kind of girl. I still usually plan these games out on a piece of paper. It just makes more sense to my mind and is easier to do. How I do this is I make my full list of challenges. You can see here, this is our list of zombie challenges. Each one of them gets a letter. That letter is what they're going to be identified with on the map. I'll show you guys in just a second there. I do make a map of the game playing field so they know where the challenges are in the library. If there is a specific challenge that needs to be done by a specific job, I do indicate that next to it. And then I actually break down how many teams I'm offering and put the challenges into a sequence. Why do we do this? We do this so that there aren't 5 teams at one station at any given time. That's chaos. Kids are bumping into each other, and it can get a little bit rough. So I usually do no more than 2 teams to a station at one time. The teams usually travel at different paces enough that by the middle part of the game, they've separated enough in terms of overall time that it's very rare that you have, one person at a station at any given time. But again, sometimes you do have a little bit of overlap, specifically at the end. I usually do the final challenge is the same for everybody. But again, they've split up enough in terms of, their actual time with one team taking the lead or 2 teams taking the lead sometimes, that there's still only 2 teams at that station at any given time. And again, this chart, you can do it like on a spreadsheet if that's more comfortable for you. I prefer doing it this way mostly because I can easily just erase things and rearrange things if I see an issue with, oh, they're going to have to go up the stairs for this challenge. That was something new that we did this year. So I'd never actually done it on multiple floors of the library before. That created a whole new challenge of, I don't want them running up and down the stairs every single time. So they need to complete all the challenges on one floor and then all the challenges on the second floor. So that meant that the teams 1, 2, and 3 started on the bottom floor and teams 4 and 5 started on the top floor. So do think about that if you are spreading it out. So the map. Again, this is just a single floor map if you're doing it through the single floor. In fact, this particular map was made for the previous library that I worked at. I did run this game during library operating hours, which meant I need to have a specific area. So as you can see, all the challenges are really focused on this part of the library, which left the children's area and the study tables open for people wanting to use it. But this map is very important because, again, these stations, even the biggest stations with say making a tent out of a tarp are still only a couple of feet wide, which means, the teams are going to have a hard time figuring out where everything is unless they have a map. Every team needs a map. The way I do it is I put it on the back of a manila envelope, and the first clue is inside that manila envelope. So that way they've got their map ready to go as soon as I say go. So this is what the challenge sheets look like. This is the most finicky step. For the first time you do this, you are going to be spending 99% of your time on this, I promise you. Because you need to include the challenge description, the challenge location, who can perform it, the number in their progress. Remember that, grid chart that I showed you with the challenges 1 through 10, where in their progress they are. That way they can stay on track. And what the sheet will be for their next task, not the one they're currently doing. So these are a couple of examples. The handwritten one, that's the outside, so that they have to actually go up and open the clue to see what it is. How this works is, so say they go to station A, they were told to go to station A. This is for the tough guy or gal only. They have to have a teammate take a video of them doing their zombie workout. And then the mission example would be the mission up here. That's basically the number. So say this was challenge 2 for them, that would have a 2 right there. And then they would pick up the station A clue again. So they're at station A doing this workout. This is what's listed at the station A clue on the outside. They grab that and they open it up and it shows them where to go next. So this is sort of like a progress. So this station A clue, maybe they got it as their first one. Then they go to station A, complete the challenge, pick up this piece of paper that's labeled station A clue, and inside there's station H. That's where you go next. Again, in regular times, we would actually be playing one of these games and it's a little bit easier to understand that way. So if you have any questions about how this kind of works, please feel free to ask them. All right. So basically, we're going to pick our two best themes. So Squid Game and Stranger Things. And I want you guys to come up with some challenges. So it be a simple challenge description. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't need to know if the challenge is fully possible. We are just going to try to work on some challenges together for Stranger Things and Squid Games. So pop your idea in the chat of what little challenges people can do and go at it. What do we got here? Using ESP to solve a problem. Oh my gosh, yes. Christmas light decoder. Yes, I knew somebody was going to say that one. $2 budget sheet. Maybe. Oh goodness. I do have math problems sometimes. I do have math problems for the teens. So like the to get into the box with the combination, it's a math problem to figure out the combination. Untangling Christmas lights, yes. Dress up 80s style. Yes, that would be really cool. I have had makeup before. So this picture down here, I didn't do a camouflage shield. It was a camouflage makeup. Light bright to create a message. D&D materials in the catalog. Yes, find that. A game of green light, red light. Yes. Again, that would be one of those completion challenges, right? Where you would have the team actually film them playing red light, green light. Create a mask to blend it with the guards. That would be really cool. Simon says, yes. Any other ones? Again, these are all amazing starts. So I do recommend downloading the chat when you're done so that you have all these challenge ideas for when you do these games. Something with Ghostbusters. You could make your own proton pack, or at least have the base for a proton pack, and then they could do one really easy. Find the Eggo waffle box. That would be really cool. I have had challenges where I let them know the general area and they had to find items within it. So basically like, essentially what I did was they had to find 4 things. Each station had a card for their team for that item. So gasoline, blankets, batteries, and food. They had to find all 4 cards, turn those cards over, and that's where the clue for their next station was. Walkie-talkies. Yes, something with walkie-talkies would be super cool. I did do something with Scratch for our ghost challenge. There was a little metal orb. I called it the ghost contact. You had to touch the metal orb because I had plugged it up to a makey. And then you had to touch different areas of a separate sheet. And the Scratch game would whisper parts of the clue. So you had to put it all together. Korean vocab, yes. Cut out the cookie shapes. Yes, easy, easy peasy. Gosh, you can get those everywhere now, those little cookies. Game of marbles. They're so good. You're making me wish everything was open so I could do these. Okay, so awesome challenges, everybody. I mean, truly. So the rules, there are rules. Essentially, the goal is to be the first team to correctly complete all the challenges. That's the winner. Now, sometimes I'll put in challenges that involve a time reduction, like a bonus. So for the best team who does the, I think I did the obstacle course the fastest. There was also an SOS challenge where you had to use random things that were laying around the library to create an SOS. The best one got a time reduction. So that's what I like to tell the kids. Don't stop playing. Just because a team has come up to me, don't stop playing because they may not be done yet. Frequently, I'll have a team who has missed a challenge or two and they've got to go back. So that's really common. There was one time though where this team spent a little extra time creating this fantastic mosaic SOS out of books from the shelves. It was a pain to pick up, but it was amazing. And I gave them a 2-minute time reduction to when they came to me with their final bag. They won, even though they were not the first team to get to me. Now, I don't really do the time reduction bonuses for the tween group, mostly because, again, the challenges need to be a little bit simpler. And the tweens especially tend to prefer the I'd rather get done fast than get done well. So I tend to prefer the time bonuses for the teen group. Sabotage. Okay, I ran this game 3 times and everything was fine. And then the 4th time I ran one of these games, there was a team that tried to sabotage the other teams by hiding their clues. I had never encountered that before, but I did want to share that with you that it does happen. So I created a sabotage results and disqualification. I say this rule at the very beginning of the game, so everybody knows it. It's just one of those boilerplate, you got to put it out there just in case because it happened. Flags. All right, so you can do actual flag football belts if you have access to those, or just strips of cloth. I took a pillowcase and I cut it up into little strips. And of course, if you're using cloth, you just tuck it into a pocket or a waistband. The rule is you're not allowed to tie it in a knot around your belt loop because then it can't be pulled. The villain, the librarian, then pulls the flag to injure the individual. What happens when that individual has been injured? Basically, a fellow teammate then needs to volunteer their flag and handcuff to the person who had their flag pulled, and they are handcuffed together for the rest of the game. Now, when I made this rule, I did not think about what would happen when 2 people were tied together, but the fact of the matter is once they're tied together, neither of them have flags that can be grabbed. So that means they essentially become untouchable by the villain. I love this loophole. I think it makes for a very creative part to the game. And I can tell you that once you get repeat players, they will figure out the loophole, and usually they'll sacrifice a teammate at the very beginning. So that way they've got 2 players that are always going through the game while the others are running from the villain. I do say make this a librarian because you are chasing kids or teenagers through the library. They will be running from you because they don't want you to pull their flag. So you need to have an adult, not another teenager, who says, oh, we're getting too fast. Oh, we're getting too close to something dangerous. So we're going to stop running. And how this works is there is a mask. So from the earlier videos you saw, basically there I had on a zombie mask. When the mask is flipped up, I am a friendly librarian, happy to help you. When the mask is down, that means I'm a villain and you need to run because I have the ability to pull your flag. That way, having an easy flippable mask, usually I just tape it to a pair of sunglasses, something that can be easily flipped up and down. And it kind of just stops the running when the running gets out of control. So again, you need an adult and you need a flippable villain mask in order to really make this work and make it safe. All right, some interesting things that I've learned. Of course, if you're doing this during library hours, put up noise and activity warning signs prior to the event. Now, we all work in libraries. A lot of times people don't read, but just having that sign on the table to point to during library hours means, hey, you can't complain, you've been warned. Usually I put it up a day in advance so that people know there's going to be a game, it's going to be spread through this area. You might want to go somewhere else if you need things to be quiet. For the tween games, again, the parents, of course, will bring the tweens because they're their ride. Ask them to stay out of the way. Again, it can be very fun. The kids are screaming and laughing and having a wonderful time, and the parents want to document that. There's nothing wrong with that. The problem is that they're standing there with their phone and the kids are running, not paying attention. I'm running. So it can get difficult having the parents in the way. So if you're doing this for tweens, just make an announcement to the parents. Please stay out of bounds of the game. We don't want you to be in the way. Of course, keep all game areas cleared. That means if you have stools for the bookshelves, they got to go because they need to get out of the way. If you have chairs around the tables, they all need to be pushed in out of the way. And of course, be prepared to think on your feet because you never know if a kid's going to have a different idea or come up with a different plan that you had planned. Trying to run through the out of bounds area, to get away. Again, you just need to be able to think on your feet. There was this one kid, he was determined to not let me have his flag and did this really cool spin move on the floor. So I needed to be prepared from that point on to know that he's going to try to get away from me as best as he can. So I need to pull back and focus on other kids and trying to get their flags instead when I'm the villain, because he's going to hurt himself trying to get away from me. So again, keep those things in mind. And of course, have water ready for the end. It's a lot of running for you too. So please have water for yourself, but definitely for the kids because they are going to be running. They love it. But you're going to need to hydrate them at the end of it. All right, so at the end, the tweens are just excited to play. Honestly, 9 times out of 10, I've never had a complaint. So that means the prizes for the winning team can be simple. I gave away, this was again, back in normal days, I would go to movie premieres because IMAX usually gives away free IMAX posters on premiere nights for movies. And so I would go to those and just get a bunch of posters from the movie theater and give those posters away as prizes. Easy peasy. That's all they really need because again, they're just getting more fun out of it than anything else. Those of you who work with teens are a harder sell. Even with something super fun like this, you need an awesome prize. It helps with promotion and the pitch. So basically the pitch is run around from zombies in the library, get gift card prizes at the end, and free pizza. That's usually enough to get us a huge cluster of teens. So yes, something of value. We also have a teen-only Instagram at our library. I allowed them to vote ahead of time what the gift cards were going to be for. So like Tim Hortons, Amazon, Walmart, stuff like that. And they could actually vote. Amazon won. So we gave away Amazon gift cards to the winning team. And it does tend to be substantial. I usually give away $10 gift cards. So that means if you're doing teams of 5, that's $50 for the prize. If you want to work with a local business that will give you gift certificates or gift cards, do that. Again, I am extraordinarily lucky in that I've got a really big prize budget for stuff like this. And so I was able to use it and do a $50 Amazon gift prize for the end of this. If you can't, work with a local organization to get you something substantial for the teens. And then free pizza at the end of it for everybody. It helps any sad people. Again, teens who don't win can get very sad. And so just having that free pizza, I also usually make commemorative buttons. We have a button maker. So I survived Zombie Night 2021. And that way, as they come, they'll get a new button. And that way, again, even though they don't win, they still had an awesome time. They still get pizza. They still get a cool little button. And again, this is just one of the posts that are actually, this was not the winning team, but they had so much fun they wanted to post to everybody. And as you can see there, it got 51 likes, which is kind of hardcore. All right, so question time. We have plenty of time for questions. I figured there would be a lot. Let's have at it.
All right. So yes, I have several, but please go ahead and feel free to keep putting those in the chat. First question, what would you advise for a library that does not allow running or loud noise as a policy?
don't do this game. Honestly, you need to have that high energy fun. If you take the running out of it, it's just an escape room. Again, and that's why the easiest way I usually explain this to people is that it's an escape room with flag tag, and that's what makes it special. If you don't have running and screaming in your library, just do an escape room.
Procedural question, will the slides be available?
Yes.
Yeah, cool. Yeah,
there will be slides available.
Sure,
also, I can send the slides to you as well as a Google Drive folder. In the Google Drive, I have basically as much stuff as I could find from all of my previous games, including the challenge sheets and the accessories and extras.
Sure, perfect. Is this feasible for smaller groups, say for a library that's just getting a teen or tween programming ramped up?
It is feasible for smaller groups. I do recommend you have teams of around 3. If you're doing just 3 on 3, you can still have a good game with that. You will be focusing more on you chasing them down, because again, that will add more energy and make it seem like there are more people playing. But if you pick something that's very popular in your teen community to do for the theme, I guarantee you it doesn't matter if you're just starting teen work, they will come.
Cool. And to kind of tie into that one, another question, how are the individuals chosen for the teams? And what if you don't have enough to make the teams equal in number?
All right, so the teams choose themselves which job they want to have. If there is a team that doesn't have a full 5 players, they just double up. So basically they get to have 2 jobs or 3 jobs. That did happen once because it was 2 sisters. They wanted to play by themselves as their own team. So I let them.
All right. What do you do with those videos you have them record? Is that something at the end that you have to
so yes, basically they have to show me at the end. How it ends is once all the challenges are completed, the very last challenge that's completed, there's a little note that says you're done. Go find the zombrarian or the dinosaur in order to turn your stuff in. I have to go through their bag. I do give them a tote bag to carry all the, not the completion challenges, but the stuff challenges, so that they're not having to carry around a little plastic dinosaur and a bottle of water and stuff like that with their hands. I check and make sure everything's correct. And then they have to show me the videos or pictures on the tablet that they borrowed from the library or their phone in order to prove they've done the completion challenges. And that's how basically I check.
All right. Do you have them sign liability waivers?
So we don't have them sign liability waivers. What we do is at the beginning of the game, we say, you're going to be running around. You're going to take responsibility on yourself. Do you accept, basically the challenge? And if they say yes, we check mark yes.
All right. So that was everything I got during the presentation. It looks like we got a few more here in the chat now. Are there additional resources you would suggest to help organize? I know you mentioned the stuff in the drive, so that's probably going to answer that question.
Yes, please use that stuff.
Yeah. Outdoors question. Have you thought about it?
I have done this outdoor. In fact, the first time I ever ran this game, it was themed around dinosaurs when the first Jurassic World movie came out. So it was, dinosaurs taking over the library. Actually, it was an indoor-outdoor game. So part of the game was in the library and part of the game was outdoors because the library I was working at was a shared facility with a school and we had access to the track area. So we were able to go and do that on the track. If you can do it outdoors, please do so.
Sure.
The only issue I'll say is that make sure that the clues, you've got a way to have your clues. Those of you who've done outdoor, outreach, paper flies. Even on super non-windy days, paper will fly. So you need to have a binder or something to kind of keep the clues together at the challenge locations.
All right. Do you do the flag tag throughout the whole thing or just certain portions of the
whole thing? You will be tired. The teens will be tired. But again, it's that happy adrenaline that keeps them coming back for more and keeps them loving these games.
Do you feel pressured to tie the theme to literature or make it library related?
Nope.
Didn't sound like it.
The first game, yes. The first game, yes. The first game, I did try to tie it in more with library skills, finding things on the shelves. But the fact of the matter is that the library is more than books. We are more than literacy. We have libraries that offer video games, movies, stuff, cake pans. Again, libraries are way more than that now. And so I no longer feel pressure to do that because this is just something else that we're offering. And the fact of the matter is, keep this in mind for your managers, we're pressing literacy anyway because they need reading comprehension for the clues.
All right. Have you had to make any modifications or accommodations to your games to make them accessible for patrons who cannot run through the stacks?
Yes. So one year we did have a teen who she is in a wheelchair. She wanted to play as well. So I just had to make sure that the game area was in an accessible area. Libraries are naturally accessible because we have to be. Again, shelf distances, those are mandated by ADA or AODA for those of us in Canada. So again, we have to be accessible for those anyway. And just because they may have physical mobility issues doesn't mean they don't want to run with their friends. You just have to, again, that's why I say you need a librarian, you need an adult to be the villain to kind of, it's almost like playing tag, with a kid who's going to run off. You don't overtake the kid because you can, and so that tends to work out better because the teen's still getting to be active, whether they're using a cane or whether they're in a wheelchair, and they're still getting to have physical fun with their friends. But again, you just have to basically make them put the flag in a different place. For this young lady, we put her flag on the back of her chair. And so that's how I chased her.
Sure. Okay. Next one was, could you share video of the game in action with the flag chase? There were some videos in the PowerPoint. So if you...
Yeah, so that video that the parent took for us for the tween game. So you saw little zombie me running after the kids. Again, that's what we're talking about. If you look very closely at that video, you'll see them with the little flags in their pockets. That's what I'm trying to get.
Sure. And then they also asked, you run this program alone, or how many staff might be kind of helping out?
So up until this year, when I started doing multiple levels of the library, I did run it alone. It can be run alone. Again, you can't be everywhere, right? So that's why those flippable masks are so important, because sometimes a challenge is too difficult or a team just doesn't get it. You need to be able to flip that mask up to be the helpful librarian and then flip that mask down to kind of, scare and scatter them. Just the game itself usually is enough to kind of keep kids on their toes. But again, you can do this by yourself. But this year, when I started doing multiple levels of the library, I added three. So there was a person who was permanently a zombie on the upper floor, permanently a zombie on the lower floor. Then we had somebody moderating the stairs so that kids weren't running up and down the stairs. And then there was me who was floating basically back and forth between the two levels to find any teens that needed help with any of the challenges. And of course, to give them a fun little scare after I helped them by pulling my mask down and being like, run now. Again, it is preferable to at least have two. I will say that. Having done this by myself, you really want to back up. You really want to back up.
Sure. Do you somehow block off the stacks from other patrons where the challenges are taking place?
Yes.
Or is it just
so basically it's I just use caution tape to block it off. That's why those warning signs ahead of time are so important. And of course, usually I have who's ever on desk at the front door be like, hey, we're playing a game in here right now. You're not allowed to go in those areas until the game is over. And that usually, keeps people out of the way. I think we had this one lady who she was determined to go to the study tables at the back of the library and would rip down the caution tape. And so I had to stop being both the zombie librarian and the helpful librarian to talk to her and be like, you'll have to use the study tables in the children's area. It does happen. So I do recommend, if you can do it outside of library hours, please do it. It makes things so much easier for you and the kids.
Sure. Next question is, how long does a typical game last? Although I think I'd modify that by, do you have a sense of how it scales by the number of questions? Or
again, it does tend to be the number of challenges. Also, once, so for the tween games, I was running multiples of those each year, and I had about 10 kids who would compose 2 separate teams who kind of became professionals. So I had to actually add more challenges because they got so good at the game, they would finish in like 20 minutes. So again, it depends on your players. It depends on how many challenges there are. A number of players does matter, because if they keep bumping into their friends, that's going to, slow them down. How many times you decide to pull down your mask to go chase them, that will slow down the game, obviously. On average, if you've got between 10 and 12 challenges, and newbies are mostly newbies players, it will be anywhere between 30 to 45 minutes.
all right. Can the villain take their flag during a challenge, or just when they're moving between the challenges?
Okay, so this is up to you. Sometimes I do like to take a team down a notch, especially if they're going through very, very quickly, by zombifying myself and chasing after them while they're in the middle of a challenge. Now, I don't do this for difficult challenges. So for the teen stuff, I like to usually throw in a first aid thing. So they have to like create a splint for a teammate who's been injured. So they actually have to do a proper wrist splint. I don't interrupt with stuff like that because, again, like, that's tricky. That's tricky to just stop in the middle of. I don't do that for the tent because, again, like trying to get the tarp quenched and stuff, that can be a little bit difficult. But if they're just picking out which bottle of water has been properly purified for drinking, oh yeah, go after them, get them.
And I think, unless more questions are out there, I've come to the end. Although this person, the next comment sounds really good. It's at this point of their expertise, it sounds like they should be working on the games with you.
Yes, that was actually the next step before the world shut down. Those kids, again, they came to all of my stuff. They became like, once you've developed several tween and teen groups, you get your kids. And so using them to kind of figure out what challenges they might like to do, that was, pretty important for moving forward. But the world exploded, and then I haven't been able to do a tween one since.
All right. Well, are there any more questions? Go ahead and
Ooh.
drop those in the chat. I am going to grab the URL for the LEU form for those of you in Indiana who need that, or any other state if you need those as well. We're happy to share.
So
the
got another question here.
Oh, there we go. Yeah. Once they lose their flag, do they have the ability to get it back? Good question.
They do not. Once it's gone, it's gone. They've been injured. I did think about doing something like that, but I couldn't figure a way out for it to happen. If you can, please feel free to share. Again, that's the beauty of this game. It's a template. It can be made to be whatever you need it to be. It can be shaped to your community, your teens. And so if you can think of a way to get their flag back, totally do it.
And what does it mean when they're injured?
So again, it's just they had their flag pulled. I don't want to say that they die because they still get to play the game. But, being injured means your flag has been pulled.
All right. Someone suggested maybe using the medic job or a health station of some sort.
That would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
if they're injured, who takes over their job? They still have their job. Again, the only difference once they have their flag pulled and they've been injured is another teammate has to volunteer their flag and then they handcuff together. So it's those two players that are handcuffed together who then go around and continue doing the game. It's just since there's no longer a flag to pull for either of those two, they become invisible to the villain.
All right. Maybe create a separate challenge to earn the flag back, or only one person can complete it. Yeah.
Again, that is definitely something
right.
cool to look into. But I will tell you that my current cult of players, they like it. They like that you have to do the handcuff thing because, again, then you're invisible to the villain. So it's a way to keep playing while your other teammates have to run from me.
All right. Well, feel free to keep putting questions in the chat. Oh, wait. Do teens enjoy this as much as your tweens?
More. Honestly, the teens are just, they are so into it. They get so into this game. And again, they're getting to do something they don't normally get to do. How often do you get to say to a bunch of teenagers, hey, you know how we say don't run, don't scream? You can for the next hour. And just that freedom to be able to do something they wouldn't normally get to do is immensely powerful to the teens who play this game, in addition to, having a bunch of cool challenges and getting to play with their friends.
All right. Well, thank you, Brooke. I want to remind those who need it, I have dropped a link for the LEU request form in the chat. The recording link, the slides, and the link to that Google Drive will all be coming out hopefully by the end of this week or next week. And I want to remind you, especially for anyone who joined late, ALA's Games and Gaming Roundtable will be offering a webinar tomorrow on running a session 0 at 1 p.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. Central. Yep, and there's Rebecca dropping in the chat. Yeah, we were discussing that before the presentation began. And we're getting a ton of thank yous. Yes, Lisa, you can stop the recording.